Hey everyone, welcome to today's masterclass on Business Hub Barcodes. This is a feature that's been in DecoNetwork for several years now. I just don't see it used very often. And just keep in mind that this may not make you more efficient. There's a lot of different size shops, different operation strategies. Don't think that, using a special or newer technology makes you more efficient necessarily. You've got to find the right sweet spot for you. So before we look at this in Business Hub, let's start back in the admin. So if we come back to the admin, we can come into settings, production and order settings, Business Hub Barcodes. Now, this first screen here is really just for us to decide what we want the barcodes to look like. So what we're really going to be doing is we're creating an action sheet. If you didn't know, when you print off an order worksheet, you can have it so that it shows the barcodes on it. So you have your order barcode, and then you have each line item has a barcode. And I'll show you what exactly it does. What we do is we'll scan that barcode on the order worksheet, and then we can print off an action sheet. And typically you would tape this down to a table or a workspace, and you would scan the worksheet, and then you would scan the action to update the status of the order. So really what a barcode scanner is meant to do is it's meant to look up the order in Business Hub without, using a mouse or a keyboard. And then if you need to, apply an update to it. Again, this first screen right here is really just formatting how big we want the barcode and the text and so forth to be. To create the actual action worksheet, we need to come over here to create barcode action worksheet. And these are the different actions that it can essentially be printed off here. If you don't see it listed, it's not possible. And I'll go over a couple that I'm constantly asked about. And again, some of these, actually, I would say most of these probably aren't what you want to use to make yourself more efficient. Keep in mind that if you're working at a computer, you're going to be more efficient typically with a mouse and keyboard. I mean, it's just you should look at this as a second type of mouse. And if you're already at a computer, it's not going to make you more efficient. Where I see barcode scanners primarily being used is wherever we don't have a computer right there. Or we just maybe you don't even have a screen. Sometimes it's good to have that big TV screen in the shop, and if you scan it and pull the order up, you can look at it on the screen. Other times it's just updating the status of the order. So at the top here, you see we have our sales barcodes. If we want to add a new quote, add a new order, add payment, to me, these things need to be primarily done when I'm looking at the screen and sitting at a computer. Artwork approval, pretty much the same thing. I would prefer to do that at a computer, have the control I need. Create an empty purchase order, download item worksheet. It's kind of weird to download the item worksheet when that's what we need to look it up in the first place. Print item worksheet. Yeah, that's nice. Mark item as produced. That I like more. Mark an order as shipped. Yeah, I also like that more. I mean, imagine at the end of the day, we have our customer pickups over off to the side. Well, they don't get that email to come pick up their order until the order is marked as shipped. It would be nice to just go over there, scan it, mark as shipped, scan it, mark as shipped, scan as mark as shipped. Now those customers are getting the email, come pick up your stuff. So I definitely see it there. Download packing slip, print the packing slip, download shipping label, print shipping label. Yes, somewhat, unless you're using ShipStation. But where I really see Business Hub barcodes being used are to update production statuses. And we need to define what a production status is. So before we do that, let's hop over to Business Hub and first define our order statuses. So an order status is not really unique to a decoration process. Every order, you need to get your hands on the items. And you're going to do that one of two ways. You're either going to raise a PO or you're going to pull it off the shelf, or maybe neither. If it's like a wide format product, it's just raw material. So first we need to raise a purchase order. That's the same strategy, whether it's embroidery, DTG, DTF, screen printing, it doesn't matter. I need to get my hands on the blanks. When the blanks arrive, I need to receive them. I need to account for them arriving in the shop. Now, this is the number one request or question I get as far as, is this possible, the Business Hub barcode? Can I mark all the blanks as received when they arrive? The answer is no, you cannot. And I think the logic is, hey, look, the big box of shirts arrives. It has barcodes on the outside. Can I scan that and mark it as received? The answer is no, and for good reason. I don't know about you, but all the suppliers, they send you shirts, and there's going to be times where there's a hole in something. They shipped you short, or it's coming from another warehouse. And doing that bulk action as receiving, you're going to make more mistakes than if you actually check them in. You can speed up the process, but you're going to run into some issues here and there, especially during that holiday season where it seems like there's more seasonal staff and you run into some of these issues. But again, you cannot receive blanks this way using a barcode scanner. Artwork approval. So again, it doesn't matter if it's embroidery needing to get it digitized for production or it's screen printing needing to get it vectorized. It is definitely irregardless of the process. And then we have produced and shipped. So these are your order statuses. But then we can create unique production statuses. These order statuses, you can't just invent another one and slip it in the process. What we can do is create unique production statuses and then assign them to certain decoration processes. Right now, if you're not using a production status, your order is in production, or well, let's back up. It's not ready for production, which means typically, if you have the default settings, artwork isn't ready, you have not completed the PO phase, so you've not ordered and received the blanks. These must be completed before the order is in production. But then when the order is in production, there are a lot of different stages. Are we still developing screens? Are we on press? Are we bagging and tagging? Are we setting up the job? DTF, same thing. Have we printed the transfers? Have we cut the transfers? Have we heat pressed the transfers? Where are we at exactly? And being able to break down a production process into these steps allows everybody on the team to know where the job is at, what's on deck, what's in the hole, using some baseball references, what's on at the plate. So production statuses, how do we create them? Well, come back here to production and order settings, and you will find production statuses. And you can see here, I've added several, and you have to remember that they're in order from top to bottom. So when they appear in Business Hub, they're going to be in this same order. And when you update a status, it then defaults to the next status. So the first status I have, and it's a little bit of a cheat at the moment, is artwork's not ready. That's just the default status I want it to be. I'm going to make the art department update that status to then let everybody know that screens are ready to be developed, or we're ready to essentially print the DTF transfers, or hey, we've gotten approval based on the artwork approval. The colors are good, the needle type size, we're all good to go. So that's what I have for all decoration processes. You can see here, you select, hey, is it available for all or only these certain ones? And again, I could have it on for all of these, but obviously some processes, hey, we're going to just take what we have and streamline the process. I don't want to complicate it for the production staff. So for screen printing, it'll go from artwork not ready to screens need developed. So if I'm in the dark room, screen room, I burn the screens. I'm going to update the status from screens need developed to screens ready for press. And then I set the screens near the shirts, near the press, so that it's in the queue for production. Once the press operator grabs the screens and they have the shirts and they start setting up the job, they can use their barcode scanner to update the status to job is being set up. And then once the job is set up and we start doing the run, we can update it to job started. Once the job's been finished, we can make it to jobs finished, ready for bagging and tagging, and so forth. For DTF, it might go from artwork not ready to transfers need printed, transfers need cut, transfers need pressing. And I even did it a little differently here. If you've attended one of my previous master classes, you'll know that when it comes to decoration processes, right now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, we have 8 processes. And if you're new to DecoNetwork, you probably aren't using all 8, or you haven't had to get as creative because DecoNetwork's made it possible to add more and more. If you're doing DTF, most shops who do DTF sell transfers in addition to printing for themselves. If you have the space, as in you're not using all of these decoration processes, I would break up DTF transfers separate from DTF apparel. There's many reasons why. One, there's different steps in production, and I can break those up. 2, if somebody places a transfer order, I'm going to just print that transfer order. I'm not going to even send it through the artwork approval phase. If it's a custom order, then which we're printing shirts, we're going to send it through the artwork approval phase in my shop. So you have more control when you break up a process, even though it's kind of the same thing, if you can. So another thing to keep in mind, and let's say you already maxed them out. You have transfers, and you are again printing DTF for your own apparel. Your products are put into product groups. And just so you realize, within a product group, you can go into the production section here, and you can specify what production statuses are used. So just because you make it available for a decoration process doesn't mean that every product or every product group has to follow those same statuses. So you have a lot of control so that you can, again, keep it as organized as possible. And the strategy for that type of product in addition to the decoration process. So big thing to remember when you make a production status, make sure it's active. If you don't see it, it's because it's not active. And in the last update, I thought it was pretty cool. You can also control this for blank products. So you could even create production statuses in which there is no production process. That just got added, a pretty cool feature. So before you start making your action sheets, I highly suggest creating these production statuses. I do have a PDF that I will gladly share with you guys, and what essentially I created here. And I created a different strategy for screen printing, embroidery, DTF printing onto apparel, and DTF transfer printing. What I also did with this PDF is I kind of labeled, okay, when should we be doing this at a computer versus potentially using a barcode scanner? A mistake I think that a lot of shops will make is, one, if you're a 1 or 2 person shop, rarely does this make you more efficient. Just doesn't always do it. Secondly, if there's a computer next to the equipment and it already has Business Hub pulled up, I would rather just do it on the computer. It just makes more sense. Where, again, I keep stressing this, it's where we don't have a computer that I really like to see this being used, and just to look up an order. Now, I know this question's going to get asked, Victor, and I've tried to figure it out. I just can't get it figured out yet. Once I do, I will share how to do it. But can you use a phone or a tablet to use this barcode scan? if you want to use the scanner with the phone or tablet, absolutely. I can use an iPad, have Business Hub pulled up, and pair this with it. That is absolutely possible. Same thing with the phone, although it's very small screen. What I can't figure out yet, and you have to find the right barcode scanner and then have the settings exactly the way you need them, is being able to take the tablet, use the camera, obviously, use the right barcode scanning app, and not have to have this with this. Haven't figured it out yet. It's kind of complicated. It's not a limitation of Deco. It's just figuring out how to make that barcode scanning app work with a website and then take the necessary steps to allow us to update things. Again, once I figure it out, I'll share it. I'll make you another video. But today we're focused on just using the scanner, not necessarily a tablet or a phone with it. And the nice thing is, the way I also see it, you can have multiple scanners in the room. You could put a big screen in the shop. And if you think about it, the scanner is just hooked to a computer. So if the computer is fed, the HDMI cord is fed to the computer, we can have a series of these laying around in the shop. Whoever's scanning is going to update what we all see on the screen. And we could pull up a lot of cool information. And but at the same time, I don't necessarily have to have a screen to do what I need here. Updating something is updating something. I don't necessarily have to see it go from boom to boom on a screen. We know just based on hearing it click, it did the job. Okay, so back to our action sheet. So Business Hub barcodes. First step, how big do you want the barcodes to be, the labels, and so forth? Then we can create our action sheet. And what you don't want to do is kind of what I did, which was add every step, every action sheet onto one. You really only want, the most common actions at that station. If I'm at the receiving and shipping station, it's also where we do customer pickups, I'm going to maybe only have print item packing slip or download item shipping label, mark order as shipped on my action sheet. There's a lot of irrelevant things, actions that I don't need on this sheet. So only print what you need. It'll be a little bit easier. Also down here at the bottom, you can assign orders to team members. So if you're a production manager and you have a stack of these sheets, maybe you go boom, boom, and you sign them. I don't see it very often. Typically, again, assigning an order is easier to do in Business Hub in my experience. Something that's also very important that we go over. How do we get these barcodes on the worksheet? Because by default, they are not there. Come into email and order templates, order templates. This order sheet is the quote, the order, the invoice. That's typically what the customer sees. So they don't need barcodes on them typically, but technically you can show a barcode on them. Rarely do I, see it being necessary. Order worksheets, definitely. This is what the production staff is doing or using. So come into settings, make sure you have show barcodes on worksheet. That's going to be important if you want to be using Business Hub barcodes. Okay. So, and you guys heard this thing go off, so hopefully I can wake it up. You have to have Business Hub open. I can't be in the admin. I can't be somewhere else and just start scanning worksheets. I have to have Hub open. Two different barcodes. Again, if I scan here, it's going to look up the order. If I scan here, it's going to look up the line item. Pulls up this line item. Okay. Now, from here, you'll notice a few different things. I mean, you've been on this page before. The big thing we're going to be doing is updating the status typically. But again, we'll back up. Imagine there's a big TV monitor right there. I scan it, it pulls this up. Now, what I really like against some of the recent updates are these internal notes and how they flow through production and what exactly the art department is typically doing with them. So just so you realize, if you came up to the original order, and you can update this in artwork approvals, you can update this in the order section. I can update it down here in production, but I want to update it up here so I can show you where it also goes. But with the recent update, we can create what are called line item notes. For each line, you know, if I have embroidery on a line, I have screen printing on a line, I want to potentially store specific production notes. And what's also really cool is those internal production notes actually show up on reorders. So let's use screen printing. Well, we're going to screen print it in a certain order. You know, we're going to go, this is the first color, second color, third color. We're going to flash in between. We're going to use this squeegee durometer. You want to store those details. So if you get a reorder, you can just throw it on the press and know that it's going to look exactly the same way. So if we come in here, create a line item note, we can put the print order in here. So we can just say it's green, 110 mesh, 70, 90, 70 squeegee. We'll say black is the next one to 160. Guys, I'm making this stuff up right now. So 70 squeegee durometer. The other thing you can do, and this is pretty cool, if you didn't know, attach new file. This can be your screen, your color separated file. If you want to upload an AI, PSD, you absolutely can right here. That attachment will appear in a reorder if you need it. So these notes are awesome. Imagine your art department or the production manager puts these notes in here. These worksheets, the problem with the worksheet is the order could update after you print this sheet off. So I could print this sheet off, and I'm going to go over when I would print the sheet off in a second. I could print this sheet off, and then the art department goes in there and later updates these production notes, this print order. Well, that's not going to just magically appear on here. So how do we look this up? Well, if I go back to scanning the order, what you'll see is over here, these internal notes. So again, it's a great way to quickly look up the order and see if there's been any updates since that sheet was printed. That's why I like having a big screen right there so I can see these internal notes, any updates since we printed the sheet. So when do we print the sheet? Well, that's up to you, but I'll tell you how I would. When we raise a purchase order, okay? When we're going to order the blanks are going to come in, and when they come in, I can dump the box over, and there's a bunch of blank shirts. What orders do they go to? Well, I'm going to match them up with the order sheets, and this order sheet is going to flow with the blanks until production has been completed. I can't tell you how much it makes me smile when I do a shop tour. We're making one of these success stories videos, and I see shops with the worksheets taped to all the different boxes of their orders, or just sitting in a bin because it's a small order and it flows. I can't state enough. Print these off. You blank shirts sitting around the shops become very confusing. There's just a connotation that, oh, I don't like it because things update. Well, use it to pull up the order, look at the internal notes before you actually start production in case any changes were made. So purchase orders. If we're going back to the order status, what's the first step? We need to get the hands on the blank. And while we're waiting for them to arrive, that's when the art department is getting their job done. But I need to order the blanks ASAP. So if we come here to purchase orders and I create a purchase order, I have a few orders that I copied today. So this actually represents, I think, 3 orders at the moment. So we'll save the PO. And then if you're using the smart PO integration, send, click live send, those shirts are ordered. They're on their way. I'm not hitting it right now because I don't need these, but that is ordering the blanks. We'll come back to our production. Actually, sorry, purchase orders. So this purchase order number is very important, 184352. So if I come here, 184352, make sure I'm not, see, I was filtering by embroidery. Ready, all 184352. Are they over in waiting production? Shouldn't be. Nope. It would help if I searched the right thing, supplier PO number. Okay, so supplier PO number. When you generate a smart PO, you are automatically having this PO number created. And when that box of shirts arrives from your Sanmar, SNS, or Alpha, it's going to have that PO number on it. When you manually order through a supplier, I don't know about you, but I forget all the time to put in the PO number that DecoNetwork gives me. That's why when, again, you raise that smart, it's actually smart because the box of shirts are going to come with that PO number on it. And when it comes, it's very easy for you to look up. But what I like to do is by searching by the PO number, now I can download all of the worksheets that correspond with it. So when that box of shirts arrives, I know, hey, in here, these worksheets match exactly with those box of shirts, unless there's some other stuff coming from another warehouse. So grab all these orders, download selected worksheets as one PDF. You do them as individual files, it'll download a zip folder for each order, and that'll include the worksheet plus all of the artwork. And it's a lot of folders. Right now, all I want to do is efficiently download the worksheets. So if I do them as one PDF, it makes it very easy to quickly download and print the PDF, and you have the stack of sheets ready to go. So when do we print the worksheet? Well, I would do it when I raise the PO. I would then take it over to the receiving, or the receiving department is the one actually printing them. When the blanks arrive, they come together and they flow through production. And in our shop, once we receive them, we put them in one spot. If we've received everything, if we're missing a shirt or two, we keep it separate. I want to make sure that we're all on the same page, just like in Business Hub, not ready versus awaiting production. Keep them separate if you are still waiting on part of the PO and you don't want to start production until you have all of it. Okay, so again, look up the order, scan it on the sheet. Actually, let's look up the order this time. So again, I scanned the top. When you scan the top barcode, it pulls up the order at the top part of Business Hub. Now, again, this is more for checking the status and so forth and looking up the order itself. There are still, again, internal notes that you can see here. It's just way more common to actually scan the line. Again, if I was going to scan the order, it's because I want to mark it as produced or mark it as shipped versus scanning the actual line and pulling it up in Business Hub. Now, just see. There we go. Okay. So remember, internal notes will see here or show up here. I'm on a different order. That's why you're not seeing the same internal notes. But the big thing, again, I like to do with these worksheets is update the status. So this, what did I see? This is a screen print order. And I know that because I'm pulling it up. Sorry, Mike, didn't look at the next page. But you can see here's the production statuses for screen printing that I created. So the default status is artwork not ready. Well, once the art department finishes the artwork approval process, their last job or step in the process would have been screens need developed. We are now ready to start developing these screens. So they would have probably set that status. And I clicked it there, didn't need to. I could have done it with the barcode scanner. So, you know, let's say I am now ready to update that status. I can scan it. Screen's developed. Now the next person knows, hey, screens are developed. If you're in the general list, you can filter by production status. So let's say I'm in the dark room. Again, if I'm in the screen room, most shops now have a CTS or an LTS. You have a computer. I mean, even if you're printing films, you still have to have a computer there. So you're probably going to sort by show me all screen print orders, but show me all screen print orders in which the screens need developed. If I'm in the screen room, I want to know what is needing to be prepped before the press. And then maybe I'm on the press. I'm the press operator. Well, show me the jobs in which the screens are ready for the press. Also, remember, you have different queues. You have not ready versus awaiting. You can sort by, you can do true all, and it kind of eliminates both queues. And each person who's logged in, it's going to be unique to them. So sometimes you don't want to look at it, what's ready versus not ready in the eyes of an order status. Show me all orders, and that way I can look at them from a production status standpoint. So, again, what jobs need developed, which ones are ready for press, what is on press, and so forth. So let's go back to our order. And once we've developed the screens, maybe we're going to, again, update the status. So what I've also done is put little things in here for job setup and job started. So let's use embroidery. When it comes to embroidery, before you can start sewing the job, you've got to put the right colors on the machine. And let's say you have a 12-head embroidery machine. That's not going to happen in a couple minutes. If you have to exchange like 4 or 5 spools per head, that's going to take time. So it's not all possible yet. I'm pushing it. It is going to be possible. I sometimes back deco into a corner, and I feel kind of bad, but we need this, and this will help you in the future. If you're a bigger shop, you want to look at how long jobs are taking. And DecoNetwork has a good report that shows you how long the average job is taking. But now what I'm seeing more and more, being asked more and more, especially through the Shirt Lab tribe group, is measuring efficiency and KPI. M&R is even doing this with their automatic screen presses. Time stamping. So when we apply a production status, it is actually getting time stamped. And if you're using DecoNetwork's API, you can kind of get some of this information out. It's going to need to be tweaked a little bit, but if I can timestamp, hey, the job setup started, and then the job actually started, we actually started running the job at this point, the difference in that time tells me how long the job setup was. And when the job was started versus when the job was completed and became ready for bagging and tagging tells me how long the actual production process took. And what I'm seeing more and more shops want to do is the production manager's going in there and saying, hey, we've got this many pieces to do, and this is how many colors we have to set up. Job setup should take this much time. Production should take this much time. And using the API, we're going to be able to compare those numbers and see how efficient we are. Not all of that's completely possible yet. It's coming. And again, I'm sorry, DecoNetwork developers, if I just got to push you away, but this is something we really want. And if you're a bigger shop and you have 4 or 5 autos, you really want to be measuring that efficiency and mining that information, because that data it will really help you make decisions and be able to evaluate how efficient or how well your staff is working. So again, worksheet, print them off when you raise a PO. It'll make receiving a lot easier. What I would do is they stick with production. When the screens get developed, if I was doing screen printing, I would grab the screens, set them next to the box of shirts that has the worksheet. That's when I would scan the worksheet to update that the screens are ready because they're physically sitting next to the shirts. We're good to go. You could print off multiple worksheets and have them flow two different ways. This set goes with the shirts. This set goes with, the screens or whatever pre-production we have. They meet together, then I have two. You don't necessarily have to. May work. Good for you though. Let's see, what else do I want to touch on when it comes to these barcodes? Again, you can't use it to receive the goods. That's just constantly asked. It's used to look up the order, update the status. What I'm seeing more and more shops do is have big screens around the room. As far as I can tell, you can have multiple scanners connected to one computer. And that way, if you wanted to have multiple monitors around the room and you had a bunch of dongles. So right now I am hooked in. That is not necessarily the case. It's just how I'm doing it right now. Just a little USB plugs in. You're probably wondering, how much is this scanner? Well, let's go on to Amazon. This one I bought is the Scan Avenger. $60. Totally works. It is a little tricky to get connected. At least it was with my Mac initially. So when you get a barcode scanner, it comes with all of this. You literally use barcodes to pair it and do certain things. It can be paired with the phone or a tablet. It's not seen as an app. It's using Bluetooth. So that's going to be different than if you download a barcode scanning app. You're kind of running two apps at the same time, and that's a little bit trickier to get configured. Again, once I got it configured, I'll show you guys. So we'll conclude it with how I would do it. So screen printing, I'd raise the PO, I'd print off the worksheet PDF. I'd receive the PO once the blanks arrive. Worksheet goes with it. Download and update the artwork. That's an artwork approval. Once the artwork's been approved, update the status from artwork not ready to, in this case, screens need developed. The art department is living at a computer. I would do it at a computer. The screen room, again, I'm seeing more and more shops, they're CTS. Or again, if it's a film positive printer, it's still the same thing. Update it typically using a computer. Nothing says that you can't scan it. But the problem also with scanning is that you'd have to print off a second worksheet. Anytime you use this, you got to have this. So that's another reason I would rather have the worksheet flow with the blanks, because blank shirts are sitting around the room gets confusing. At least the screen has a design in it. It becomes a little bit more obvious what it goes to. Update the status to screens ready for press. If I'm on an automatic press, again, I'd have an action sheet taped to it, scan the worksheet, scan, job being set up, finish the job setup. We're about to begin printing, scan, job on press. Once I finish, scan, job ready for finishing, put the shirts off to the side. Somebody else grabs them, they can bag and tag them and update it to the next status. Embroidery, pretty much the same thing, but once we get to job setup again, putting all my spools on, changing out the needles and so forth, to job started, to job finishing. Again, maybe you are even accounting for the trimming and so forth, or QC, your quality control. DTF printing, we're going to potentially update it with this saying that, hey, we're currently printing the transfers versus maybe we have a new cutter and we're actually cutting them for customers, or we're cutting them for ourselves. We're letting everybody know versus being on press. I do like it for DTF transfers because cutting does not need to be next to a computer. That just doesn't have to be done. When I take them to the heat press and we're about to heat press them, again, I don't need a computer right there. It would just be nice to update the status. And then a transfer order is typically a lot simpler than if we're doing the actual application. So hopefully I answered some questions naturally, didn't create any confusion. Don't mistake this as a POS. We're putting together quick orders. This is just not necessarily the case. But I see over time it evolving. Just keep in mind, it may not make you more efficient, depending on the size of your shop, the decoration processes you offer. And if you do implement it, don't think that every step is going to be more efficient this way. It's typically when we don't have a computer screen.